In an ancient land where the mountains stood as silent guardians of history, ruled a king named Arion. In his youth, he had been a fearless warrior, expanding the borders of his realm with his sword. But in his middle age, a profound tranquility had replaced that fervor. His palace was filled with the spoils of war, gold, and magnificent works of art, statues of heroes, paintings of victorious battles, and jewels that dazzled the eye. Yet, the larger his treasury grew, the deeper the void he felt in his heart. He felt that these artworks displayed only the shell of his power, not the soul of his kingship. One day, Arion summoned all the great artists of his land, from the proud sculptors of the capital to the reclusive painters of the mountains. He stood in the grand hall of mirrors, and with a voice that echoed from his countless reflections, he declared, "I have spent my life building a powerful kingdom. But today, I wish to immortalize the meaning of this power in a work of art. I present you with a challenge. Create a statue of me that must simultaneously embody two contradictory qualities. It must be the heaviest and, at the same time, the lightest work in this land. Whoever solves this riddle will have their name recorded in history and will receive a reward beyond imagination." A murmur spread among the artists. What kind of riddle was this? Heaviness and lightness together. Among the crowd, Kellis, the most famous sculptor of the era, looked upon the others with a smirk. He was a man who believed that greatness was found only in grand dimensions and precious materials. That very night, he traveled to the largest black marble quarry in the country and chose a colossal block of stone that required 100 men and 20 oxen to move. He intended to create a statue whose physical weight would symbolize the king's absolute power. But at the far end of the hall stood a woman named Elara. She was a stone carver whose small workshop was located by the river, and her fame came not from crafting large statues, but from her wondrous ability to reveal the stories hidden within ordinary stones. Her grandfather had taught her to carve a stone. You must first listen to its silence. Elara saw the king's challenge not as a commission, but as a deep philosophical question. Kellis set up his massive workshop with dozens of apprentices. The sound of their hammers striking stone echoed through the capital, day and night. He decided to depict the king at the height of his power, seated on a throne of roaring lions, with a sword in his hand. Every detail of the statue screamed power and dominance. Elara, however, took a different path. Instead of going to a quarry, she spent days walking through the city's alleys, observing its people. She wanted to understand the true weight of a kingdom. One day, while sitting in a bustling marketplace, she saw King Arion, dressed in simple clothes and without his guards, walking among the people. No one recognized him. Suddenly, a barefoot child who was running fell, and his small basket of fruit scattered across the ground. Before anyone could react, the stranger, who was the king himself, stepped forward, knelt down, and patiently gathered the fruit one by one, placing them back in the child's basket. He then patted the child's head and disappeared into the crowd. Elara saw the truth in that simple, fleeting moment. She had found the key to the riddle. The next day, she went to the riverbank and searched for hours among the countless stones. She was not looking for the most beautiful or the largest stone. She sought a stone that had a story. Finally, she found an ordinary piece of granite, half of which was smooth and polished by the caress of the water over thousands of years, and the other half rough and untouched. She took the stone to her small workshop, and for 3 months, the only sound that came from it was the quiet, rhythmic scratching of stone. The appointed day arrived. First, Kellis proudly unveiled his work. A gigantic statue of black marble was revealed. King Arion sat on his throne with a stern and powerful expression. Its majesty and weight were undeniable. A cold admiration spread through the crowd. The king looked at it and said, "Kellis, I feel its heaviness with all my being. But where is its lightness? This statue makes my soul heavier." Then it was Elara's turn. With the help of 2 workers, she brought her piece, hidden under a thick cloth, to the center of the hall. Kellis and his apprentices looked on with ridicule at its small size. When Elara pulled back the cloth, a deep and different kind of silence fell upon the hall. The statue depicted not the king himself in his royal state, but a scene no one expected. It showed King Arion kneeling on one knee, gently lifting the fruit basket of a small village child with tattered shoes. The king's face was carved not with the pride of power, but with kindness and humility. Elara had used the smooth, polished part of the stone to depict the gentleness of the king's hands, and the rough, untouched part to portray the dusty ground of the alley. King Arion took a step forward and stared at the statue. His eyes shone with the memory of that day. One of the ministers, who did not understand, said hesitantly, "It is beautiful, but what of your condition? Where are its heaviness and lightness?" "This is just an ordinary statue," Elara replied in a calm, firm voice that echoed in the silent hall. "Your Majesty, the heaviness of this statue lies in the weight of the responsibility you carry. The weight of a kingdom is not in the crown and throne, but in bending down to lift the weakest member of society. This stone carries the weight of your commitment to every single person in this land. There is no weight in the world heavier than this responsibility," she continued. "And as for its lightness, it is found in the act itself, in lifting a burden from a child's shoulders, in the kindness that frees the soul from the shackles of pride and makes it light, in the smile that appears on that child's lips, and the heart that soars with gratitude. There is nothing in this world lighter or more liberating than selfless, anonymous service." Tears welled up in King Arion's eyes. He had not been looking for a statue of himself, but for the true meaning of his legacy. Elara had found it. The statue was the heaviest work in the palace because it carried the burden of a nation, and at the same time it was the lightest, for it allowed the spirit of generosity and humanity to take flight. The king ordered Kellis's statue to be kept in the palace treasury as a symbol of physical power. But he had Elara's statue placed in the main city square to remind the king and his people every day what true strength really is. Conclusion: this story teaches us that profound concepts like power, responsibility, and value are often not defined by their physical appearance or grand scale. The heaviest burdens are the invisible ones of commitment and humanity, and the greatest lightness and freedom are found in acts that are seemingly small but deeply human, such as kindness, humility, and service to others. The solution to life's great riddles often lies in shifting our perspective from how we appear to how we are. Elara won because, instead of carving a stone, she carved a truth that was hidden in the hearts of the king and his people.